No vacation for you. Well, for you, absolutely. You're probably maybe on vacation right now, finishing things up for the summer, getting kids ready for school, getting back into the fall season, whatever. You know who doesn't need vacation, who should not get vacation, who doesn't deserve it? Your elected representatives. That's not all of them. There's a contingent of about, I think they have like 14, it's just under 20, signed on to stay through the summer recess to make sure the Save America Act is passed. Why is this even an issue? Why do they have to put together a contingent of Republican senators who are committed to actually doing their job? This is how insanely stupid this entire thing is. But who's not? Who's not signed on to this? Who are the four exactly who refuse to vote for the Save America Act? Two, as we all know, secure elections. Oh, we'll go through this, but here's the bottom line and the takeaway. It's up to all of us to pressure all of these clowns to make sure this is passed. Because here's the thing, and keep this in mind. Let's say by some miracle they come back from this summer vacation, if they do decide to go, and they do somehow pass a form of the Save America Act. Do you think all these states and counties and districts have the time to actually institute what's going to be needed to secure the midterm elections? Nope, and that may be the long game. It's infuriating, but this is how we get things done. Anyway, thanks for finding me. I appreciate you. Wicked Radio live stream and replay, X and YouTube and Facebook. Audio podcast, complete show, always posted right after the live stream. This, of course, is a big topic of conversation, and I think it's more relatable now, and that's important to the common man and woman, you and me and everybody else, because there are people like this. No, he's not the most eloquent guy in the world, but Florida Senator Rick Scott has been hammering this home in a pretty common sense way. Just on the weekend talk shows yesterday, this is what he said, because this fight goes on. A little long, but you got to hear it.
Well, we ought to be voting on it every week, and even if we can't get the whole thing passed, vote on parts of it. And I believe we ought to force people to talk. That's how the filibuster is supposed to work. And then when people are done talking, you vote. It only takes 50 votes. But that's not where we are. What we can do this week is we're going to have hopefully a reconciliation vote this week, which will get as much in the Save America Act in the reconciliation vote, which only takes Republican votes, and get that started this week. It won't be finished this week. Ron Johnson, the chair of the Budget Committee, and hopefully that's what we'll be doing all day Wednesday and all night Wednesday night to get everything we can in the Save America Act passed inside reconciliation, and then work with the White House to see what else they can do from an administrative standpoint.
You're working 2.5 days this week before summer vacation. And I keep calling it's the senatorial and congressional recess. No, it's not. You're going on vacation. Why is it so important to them? Because this is where now the line they're giving us is because before the midterms, we need to reconnect with our voters and hear their concerns about what's going on with the country and in their community. No, it's not. They go home to fundraise. This is the cycle that frustrates all of us so much. As soon as these people are elected, most of them, they get elected, they start campaigning immediately right away. That's the fundraising game. And then they go home. This is why these recesses and vacations are so important. They go home and they start fundraising again and fundraising and fundraising. And they do not want to miss that, despite the fact that possibly they won't get elected again unless they pass this Save America Act. You see how insane this is? Okay, now that's Rick Scott. Good for him. He's one of those that's putting up this coalition of Republican senators to stay in town, get their job done, do everything you can to get this thing passed. And it's an uphill battle because there's even some of your favorite names possibly that are out there. They also have not committed to staying in town and getting this thing done. Now, this is from a couple of weeks ago. Here's Ted Cruz talking about the very same thing, and he's right about this.
We need to make the Democrats do that until they can talk no longer, and then we should pass the Save America Act. Absolutely, we should stay here through August. We should keep going until we get it done.
Right.
And look, it's a real press. Do we get 50 Republicans to stand together? I am fighting tooth and nail to make that happen. I'm grateful for the president fighting. We need to get this done.
Yeah,
Yes.
and real quick.
Yes, you do. You do need to get that done. Ted Cruz is one of them, obviously. What he was talking about there was the talking filibuster. So they have a fake filibuster now, which happens. This is why you hear this term all the time now, where you can just say, I filibuster, I was going to talk for hours on end, but then they don't actually have to do it. So they don't even have to do that. Just talking for a living, they won't even commit to that. At least get them to do that. Or, as the president has said, just nuke the filibuster. Because guess what? When the Democrats get elected again, it's exactly what they're going to do. They're just going to nuke it up. So you can, if they have the majority in the Senate, they'll pass whatever they want to pass. But we have wimpy Republicans who won't do that. Why? Why is it? We have to start asking the question why. Forget about the Democrats. And this is the most amazing thing. In a weird turn of events, which is what always happens in that swamp of Washington, D.C., and then we all have to deal with what rolls downhill from there, the Democrats are being more honest than the Republicans are on the whole. Isn't that amazing? You know what they're going to do. Not one of them is going to vote to secure our elections, even though it's got an approval rate of over 85% among all political parties in the country. Everybody in the country sees this for what it is. Absolutely necessary. And they're all going to vote against it. Every single person in the Senate with a D next to their name is going to vote against the Save America Act. But they're not the only ones. What would actually cause for Maine? We'll talk about John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, useless, here in just a second. But the 4 other senators who are Republicans, in name only, who are voting against this, why? Who are they and why? Thom Tillis. Thom, as he spells his name. His is totally political because Trump went against him in the Texas race and he votes against. So just of pure actual spite, he's willing to vote against, will not support the Save America Act out of spite. That's right. That's where we are on that. Great guy, huh? Mitch McConnell. Why isn't he voting for it? Well, because he's brain dead and his aides are completely owned by the Chinese. There's your answer there. Lisa Murkowski from Alaska. I have absolutely no idea why she wouldn't vote for the Save America Act. Susan Collins from Maine. There's another one voting against it. I think she just wants to play nice and she doesn't want people angry at her, I think. I don't know. This is how preposterous this entire situation is. It's absolutely ridiculous. So get mad at them all you want. And you don't have to be in their district to reach out to them, email them, call the senatorial office, all of that to put the pressure on them. No, they're U.S. senators. You can call them. They represent you and me and everybody else. And there's only 100 of them. But here's who you should be mad at. And this is where you're going to get mad at me. Why hasn't President Trump, the guy who knows how to put more personal pressure on anybody in the country, possibly the world, why isn't he calling them out by name like you and me and everybody else is? I don't know, and I don't know what the answer is. This is on Air Force One over the weekend. Audio's kind of hard to hear, but I'll kind of just transcribe for you after the fact, where he's talking about those 4 that you and I just mentioned there who are voting against securing our elections. Why? And why isn't he doing more to absolutely shame them?
Some Republicans that I will not comment on.
Why?
A few of them, probably 4.
4?
That we probably won't get the vote. I'd like to comment on them, but I have too much sense to do it.
See, there's the problem, I think. Who am I to doubt President Trump because he's the best negotiator possibly we've ever seen in that office, that's for sure. Why won't you comment on it? Nobody is better than the personal insult. And why does he do that? And we've all said, even people that voted for Trump, I wish he wouldn't name call so much. All right, that's fair. Here's a case where you got a name call. Why isn't he hauling John Thune, this Senate Majority Leader, into his office and then having that little, outside the Oval Office press conference in the chairs where they bring the press in? Why isn't he publicly embarrassing him like he has with all the other politicians that have gone against him, even though he's a Republican? Or these other 4, Collins and Murkowski, McConnell. Well, McConnell's brain dead and in the hospital, so you can't embarrass him personally, but you can do it by name. Thom Tillis. Why not? Why not embarrass them? He's the best at that. Throw the personal insults out there. Berate them haul them into the Oval Office every single day until this is done. What the hell is the problem with this? Why he's not doing that, I have no idea. Probably to get other legislation passed. I don't know, and he's still got to make friends because they have a razor-thin majority in the Senate, as we know, or we wouldn't be going through this. And he's got this guy, this Senate Majority Leader. This is the guy who's supposed to be whipping all these people up into, following the party line, right? Following the Trump agenda. He may be the biggest enemy of all. Again, in a weird way, the Democrats are being way more honest than these Republicans are. Way more. Because you know where they're coming from. You know how they're going to vote. It's going to be a no to secure our elections. And you know why. But this guy who's the Senate Majority Leader, he just keeps running his mouth and giving excuse after excuse. Senate Leader John Thune, are you gonna cancel that recess, or are you gonna go out to play in your home state, or are you gonna get your job done? Here's what he said.
But I don't think, having a Congress and Senate sitting around here for the month of August in quorum calls or having to vote on Democrat amendments is probably a good use of anybody's time. So we will see and see where the
Well, I don't think that was low again on the audio. Sorry, but what he said was, I don't think sitting around here another week or sitting up here in Washington D.C. is going to help at all. Why not? That's when you have to get them together. That's your job, John, is to get them together and vote this thing, which obviously the entire country wants, and you don't get it, or you do get that and you won't do anything about it, which is worse. Which makes me wonder why. Why it's just not a cluelessness. It's just not an awareness. Maybe you think you wouldn't be in office, you fellow Republicans, unless I cheated for you too, because let's be big boys and girls about this. The hijinks going on with our election system isn't just happening on the Democrat side. It's not. Most of it, I'll grant you that, it's happening with them too. Let's be honest. Maybe they're hiding something as well. But if not, it's just going to go down to the states. If they don't get this done, and don't get it... The most infuriating thing, let me tell you, would be if they pass this Save America Act and there's not enough time before the midterms to do anything about it. That would be the worst thing of all. That really, really would, because it would be infuriating. Because then no one would believe in it, that it actually worked. And then what would happen? It would go down to the states. And God help you if you're in a state that won't do anything about it, because it'll just get worse. Or you could luck out. By the grace of God, I lucked out and I live in this state with this guy. This is what Ron DeSantis said about the Save America Act. He didn't wait. Maybe he saw what was coming, took it upon himself and the Florida legislature in Tallahassee to pass a state version of the Save America Act. And other red states are working on that too. It can be done. The states can do this as well as the federal government. It's not going to hurt anything. Here's what he said.
Things I think, one, the left realizes that they can't win in America unless they import people from around the world who will agree with their agenda. And part of that is having an open border, having illegal immigration, and then amnestying them and having them vote. And actually, in some of the blue states, they're letting the foreigners vote, which is why you need to pass the Save America Act. We've done that in Florida, incidentally. So this is part of a larger political project.
Yeah, it's part of a larger political process, all right, Ron. But you did it. Good for you in the state of Florida. And I don't know if you're completely aware of this or possibly you forgot. But if you start to lose hope that any of this stuff can be fixed, and it's so easy to fall into that too. Well, my vote doesn't matter anyway. It's all corrupt and it's all... A lot of it is. You're right about that part of it. But it can be turned around. I saw this personally, actually down here. I don't want to delve into history too much, but in the 2000 election, you know, the Al Gore W election, which came down to Florida and the hanging chads and all this other stuff, I cannot even describe how screwed up the election system was in Florida for federal elections, and state and local, I'm sure, too. But they turned it around in not that long a time. It actually can be done. So if you're thinking that this Save America Act, well, what does it matter if they go on vacation or not? It's not going to fix the elections anyway. No, it actually can work. You actually can secure your elections. I've seen it personally down here. A larger version of that could be beneficial for our entire country. Will they do it? First thing we got to do is get these useless, absolutely lazy, and I'll say corrupt Republican senators off their asses and cancel their vacation plans to get this done. That's the first thing. And if you think it doesn't matter to you, it does. Call these four. All the other ones. Get heard, get loud. Make sure that they get off their asses and they actually get this thing done, because it's vitally important. And that's the most ironic thing of all is they all know it. 85% of the country, poll after poll, study after study, the entire country is in favor of this thing. And yet they still won't do it. And yet you still have somebody like John Thune going, well, I don't see what good it's going to do for us to sit up here in Washington, D.C. What good it's going to do? Do your frickin' job. That's what good it's going to do. All right. Got me all worked up on a Monday. How dare you? Actually, we'll see what happens with it. 2.5 days of work this week. Let's see if they get something done. I don't know. I have my doubts. And I'll say it one more time before we get out of here. Trump needs to call these people out by name and stop. I never thought I'd be sitting here and saying Trump needs to stop playing so nice. but that's happening too. And I hope he does. Anyway, let's talk about that. More on that tomorrow, and more whatever pops up in the news. We'll be talking about it. Wicked Radio live stream and the replay and the audio podcast. X, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you let you get your audio podcast as well. Posted right after the live stream. Thanks for hanging out with me and make it a wicked awesome Monday. Get those rhino senators off their asses to do their jobs. I'll talk to you tomorrow.